Let's take a look at my entire movie collection, starting off with box sets. And moving on to a personal favorite of mine, the Friday the 13th Scream Factory box set. Very happy to own that one. And I got a few Phantasm box sets, as you can tell, but I really do like this one the best. And this next one I got from a friend. It's kind of in rough shape, but I'm very happy to own it. Moving on to my Scream Factory collection. This one has a lot of out-of-print Blu-rays. Even the slipcovers themselves are worth a lot of money on their own. And if you're wondering why Child's Play and Class of 1984 does not have slipcovers, well, something happened on my previous shelf that I had that damaged the slipcovers. It was a freak accident, which I don't know how it happened, and it was very unfortunate. But just to take a second here, I want to talk about the early artwork for Scream Factory releases. I think they were absolutely perfect. I love that style. Oh, just like the Howling, that looks so beautiful. It's very colorful, vibrant, it pops, and I really love that style. Don't get me wrong, I still love their artwork, but something about those early releases just hit different, in my opinion. Get in there. And when it comes to Terror Train, that is one that I ordered off of Amazon. And if you don't know, if you don't get these releases within a few months, the guarantee of the slipcover is just not there. Moving on to the limited edition sets. Really love Nightbreed. Such a fun film. Then we got the steelbooks. And then there's standard Blu-ray releases, which I have a few underrated horror films here in my opinion. And then the only three 4Ks that I own from Scream Factory is the first three Child's Play films that came with these really cool Chucky figures. Love that burnt one. And here's just a bag of slipcovers that I've got for various releases. Moving on to my slasher films. These are not organized, I just kind of threw these all together. And this TCM2 release is actually from Germany. That was before the Scream Factory release came out. Not a big fan of Texas Chainsaw 3D. And I really do love this steelbook for Scream. Then we got two of my favorite slasher films back to back, Black Christmas and My Bloody Valentine, along with Mad Men. Kind of underrated, in my opinion. And now moving on to my small section of Giallo films. Really got into those this past year. Loved Tenebrae, loved opera. And here we got like psychological horror films. And I kind of just threw the Silence of the Lambs in there as well. Then we've got home invasion films. Don't have too many of those. Then we've got creature features, such as Gremlins, Jack Frost, Leprechaun, so on and so forth. Had to sneak Chucky in there. Love the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. Now moving on to my Arrow Video collection. Another small section in my collection, but Arrow Video has quality releases. And then we have Maximum Overdrive with a few Alien films here. This is one of my favorite sections. We've got the It miniseries from 1990, which is one of my favorite childhood films. And the 2017 film I thought was very good as well. The Thing from Another World. John Carpenter's The Thing. Just great back-to-back Alien films, in my opinion. Really love this section of my collection. Get to the chopper! And right here is just a random section of films that I've just not got to see. Put them together. I don't know how well these go together. But I have seen Cabin Fever and Frozen. We got Stephen King corner here with Cat's Eye and Carrie. And starting off the Possession films with The Exorcist. Then we've got my lone werewolf film, and then we dive into the vampire films, Love Fright Night and The Lost Boys. And I think John Carpenter's Vampires is pretty underrated, and I love 30 Days of Night as well. Haven't seen the sequel. And then at the end of the shelf, it's just random stuff. The Rocky Horror Picture Show, Young Frankenstein, and a few others. Moving on to the Phantasm and zombie films. As you can tell, I'm a very big fan of the Phantasm franchise. And as you're about to see, I love zombie films, especially the George A. Romero zombie films. And if I have to pick a favorite, I would say that the original Day of the Dead is my favorite zombie film of all time. And this is one of my favorites as well, The Return of the Living Dead. Love the first three. Part two, kind of iffy on. 28 Days Later, a classic in my opinion. And then we've got the Edgar Wright films, with Hot Fuzz being my personal favorite, but I really just love all of his films. He has such a unique directing style and sense of humor. And speaking of sense of humor, moving on to the comedies, with The Big Lebowski being one of my absolute favorites. Then we've got the Fast and the Furious films. Kind of stopped collecting those after, 5 and 6. And then here we've got a mix of mob films. Then we've got Full Metal Jacket, Point Break, and Roadhouse, two of my absolute favorite action films. Huge James Bond fan. Sean Connery is definitely one of my favorites. Then I got recommended the Kingsman films and fell in love with those as well. Then we got my little action corner here. Rambo, RoboCop, T2. And one of my favorite video game films, Mortal Kombat. Grew up with that one. And now we got Star Wars, something that I haven't really talked about on the channel, but is a huge childhood favorite of mine. My personal favorite being The Return of the Jedi, which I know isn't very popular pick when it comes to, your favorite, but I'm not going to back down. It is my favorite. Newer ones were kind of, eh. Then we've got the X-Men films. A little Marvel corner here. You can tell that I like them, but I'm not like a huge fan of them. There's some of them that's definitely missing. Loved Logan. I thought that was such a great film. The Deadpool films. Just so much fun watching these. And then a childhood favorite of mine, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. I love William Dafoe as the Green Goblin. He hams it up. We got the Batman films. Huge fan of Batman 89 and Batman Returns. Probably my two favorites. We got Forever, not too bad, but Batman and Robin, let's just not talk about that one. The Dark Knight trilogy, pretty solid in my opinion. And then we've got some animated films as well. And then we got some DCEU films, which I was into at a certain period in time and just kind of fell out of it. But I really did enjoy Wonder Woman. I thought that was a very good one. And then Matt Reeves, The Batman. Love this one. Saw in theaters. Now we got my Evil Dead collection. And if you know me, I'm a huge Evil Dead and Bruce Campbell fan, so I have quite a few copies of the Evil Dead films. And got that copy signed by Bruce himself. A very solid reboot, remake. Love the TV series Ash vs. Evil Dead. I really think Evil Dead as a series is just solid. I don't think there's a bad film. Moving on to the Halloween films, I've got this Scream Factory Halloween box set, which I absolutely love. Then we got some copies of the original film. Love this steelbook. As you can tell, I have quite a few copies of the Halloween films, and I just really love this franchise. I grew up with this franchise, and essentially these films are my childhood. Then we got the Halloween 4Ks. I just want to take a moment to say thank you so much for checking out this video, and I want to leave you a question before this video ends, and that is, what is your favorite edition that you own in your own collection? Whether it is a really cool steelbook, something that's out of print, or a box set, let me know down below in the comments.